Hi, Bharat.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity, sir. My name is Bharat
Okay.
Saudhary. Yeah, I'm Bharat Saudhary, sir. So I come from a IT service management background with over 18 plus years of experience in IT operations and service management. I worked with companies like Computer Sciences Corporation, IBM, Cognizant. So my role is, I've grown in IT service management vertically. So now I wanted to transition my role into AI. As part of my transition into AI solution architect role. I've been learning the cloud technology and learn building the hands-on projects. So today I'm going to demonstrate the development of WordPress application on AWS Lights Sale. Um,
So
so
this
all
is the first role, right? We planned for our career transition into AI roles.
yes, that's correct, sir.
Okay. Right. Okay. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Although it is you know it is a simple web application. The objective of this demonstration is to showcase my understanding of cloud infrastructure, you know, and server provisioning, networking, storage, monitoring, and scalability. I see these are the main fundamental building blocks of the enterprise cloud and AI solution architect. So to begin with, yep, to begin with the uh, uh, demo. Um, so the business requirement for this demonstration is to deploy fully function WordPress website using AWS LightSail. So as an IT SM professional, transitioning into cloud AI, I wanted to showcase that I can provision the cloud infrastructure and deploy applications, configure network database, and monitor the solution. So I begin uh, you know by login, by uh, logging into the AWS management console. So the AWS is you know it is one of the leading cloud service provider, let's say, offering offering it has the inbuilt applications, database and storage. Um so I would say I would use AWS Lightsail because it is a simplified cloud platform that combines um, you know c- computing, networks, storage, and firewall configuration into one single use of services. So first, I would log in into AWS and navigate to Lightsail services and create a new instance. While creating the instance, I first select the AWS region, and then choose the appropriate region, um, and then you know I would go ahead and create the Linux instance as a operating system, um, and once the Linux operating system is uh, created, I would pre-configured, or I would first go ahead and click or create the WordPress, um, and then probably I would select the configuration of WordPress in the AWS LightSail. So once the instance is created, the AWS provisioning the virtual server, the provisioning of the virtual server, it would take for a few minutes, and then the virtual machine includes the CPU, uh, you know, usage, memory. It gives us the information about the CPU, memory, storage, and network resources. So yeah, uh, probably I would go ahead and move on to the so. Uh, So my next step would be to connect to the Linux server using SSH ID, or the secure cell, providing an encryption communication channel for for connecting securely to the Linux server. So after connecting, I would verify that I've logged into correct server by checking the host name, current directory, logged in with with the user. Probably I would check for the user and password. So and yeah, I would also create or integrate the storage through S3 within AWS. Um, so the next component I would say is uh, is PHP. The WordPress is developed using PHP program language. So it acts as a application engine that executes WordPress code. So I would develop the WordPress using PHP programming language. So after configuring PHP, I would install um, MySQL, which serves as the backend of the database. So for every WordPress website, you know, the content inside would store in a database. So that includes user accounts, passwords, the um, pages, configuration of website settings. Um, so I would create. I would create a dedicated database, especially for WordPress, along with the dedicated database user, which follows the privileges of the you know uh, the specific application that receives the permission which requires, and this particular database would be restricted um, access, just to improve the security and minimize the risk of the application credentials. um, yeah. Next, I would configure the WordPress application by updating the WordPress config PHP file, which configure the file stores in with the database name, with the database username and password. Um, wherein the WordPress, it starts uh, reading the configuration file to establish the connection between the database and the WordPress. If the configuration is is incorrect, the WordPress would will not be communicating to the required database. You know, so once the WordPress is configured with the database, I would then configure Apache permissions to ensure the WordPress has the necessary access to upload media files, and then update the themes and create new content. So once the configuration changes are completed, I reset both the Apache and my SQL services to update the configuration that took effect. So restarting these services will ensure the latest settings are loaded to the application. So now I would access the WordPress website using public IP assigned to the LightSail instance, by just copying the static IP, and send copying it and then opening it into a internet browser. Um, yeah. So yeah. So I would go ahead and move on to the next slide uh, for today's agenda. As I stated in my previous slide, creating a AWS account. Uh, Once the account is created, AWS, uh, uh, there are many number of cloud services. I will get in the list in the home page. So today I would be using um, LightScale instance. So once I launch the LightScale instance, as I said previously, it is a simplified cloud platform, which is suitable for the websites, blogs, small applications. So instead of installing you know the OS manually, I would go ahead and create an instance, the Linux instance, which is actually pre-configured within the live scale image. Yeah. And then I would connect the instance through SSH, and then update the operating system, which is Linux, install the Apache web server, and then install the PHP and required extensions. I would also go ahead and install the MySQL, which I need to again go back to the main page, and then click on database in the main page, and then install the MySQL database over there. And once it is installed, it would actually take 10 to 15 minutes to you know uh, uh, to to reflect the database in our instance. And then I would install the WordPress, uh, configure the WordPress with giving a command, wp-config.php. So once the WordPress is configured, so I would configure Apache and file permissions. And then next, I would restart the Apache and database services. I would configure uh, the networking and access the WordPress through using the public static IP. So once the WordPress installation is completed, I would create for a ad for a administrating account, and then access through static IP address in a web browser, and then test the website and the admin portal. So that's about it for this domain.